and all of a sudden we're eager beavers. Oh no, what you gonna do to me?
Okay. Well, good afternoon, everyone. Very happy to see everyone on this challenging, coldy kind of day. And thank you for coming. My name is Marian Kotovich-Laval. I teach here at the university, and I also promote Aboriginal cultural knowledge and liaison work and just bringing wonderful people like Megan and Morris to you. This is the first time we're doing a medicinal workshop in this format. Years ago, we used to just have an ad hoc kind of informal discussion group called the Indigenous Medicines Group. So it's really nice to have Megan and Morris here, come all the way from Manass this morning, traveling to join us. I just want to begin, like we begin all of our events at the university here, acknowledging the traditional territories of the Tsimshian Nation and the two sister communities of Kinsale and Kinselas in particular, but all the Tsimshian people that live wherever they live. Today, with the help of Alex Iffel, our IT person, he's also linked us up on live stream, what we call live stream, and so in future, or like I know that there are some friends that are housebound right now, so they will be joining us online in their homes. So hi everybody, hi Cinnamon in particular. And it's unfortunate it's only one way, so they'll hear the conversation, but unfortunately they won't have really a good way to converse back. So this is the open talk session with Megan Olson and Morris Watt. And then afterwards, some of you will be joining us for the actual hands-on workshop, which we unfortunately could only handle 16 people, but many of you might have signed up for that. Anyway, without further ado, thank you for coming, and thank you for coming, Megan and Morris. Yes.
So formal when we have to sit in front of people. Lots of times in our other classes I make everyone sit in a circle, so I might do that for us next week. Well, thanks for having us. It's really nice to see you all. I usually kind of like to hear people's names. I don't know if you guys are comfortable just sweeping through the crowd and just letting me hear your name. Would you like to start? Yes. Robert? Maggie. Hi.
Mary, Birdie,
Hi.
Lori,
Hi, Lori.
and Nikki, Linda, Diana, Trish, Alvia,
Hi, Abby.
Jessie,
Hi, Jessie.
Judy, Sherry,
Sherry.
Brenda,
Hi, I'm Rob.
Hi, Robin.
You Rob.
Hello, welcome.
And this is Jess.
Hi, Janice. Well, you guys know my name now, so I'm Megan Wilson, and this is Morris Watt. So probably in 2012, was it, Morris, I think? We started going out together. Yeah.
We usually just be with men and go off picking herbs with them.
Yeah.
And they're not available to pick, I go out there myself. As long as they direct me to what they're looking for.
Well, Morris and I started picking and started going out in the Nass around 2012, right? And then we started kind of getting together once in a while with other people in the community and just talking about plants and having tea and basically going out and finding certain plants and picking during the seasons. And so our little group started out pretty casual and pretty informal, but it's growing quite significantly now. So there's two other women who kind of form our collective. informally. Actually, there's 3 other women. So Karen Lisa, Wanda Stevens, and Renee Morgan. And part of my opening is also to thank the lands and where we pick our medicine, and the people that we cross paths with, that share knowledge with us, and that we get to exchange knowledge with. And I always like to thank the people I work with, so that's why I say their names, even if they're not all here with us. Some of them you'll see in the following weeks. And I always like to thank Morris, because Morris actually taught me quite a bit. And he's always been my first original person that would kind of travel anywhere in the bush with me. So we've had quite a few adventures together. Presently. Yeah. And then from there, we can confidently take other people into the bush, and we have some really neat harvesting places now where we take quite a few people and get them started picking their own plants for their own medicine. So just recently, we kind of formalized our collective. We call ourselves the Nass Valley Wild Medicine. And we treat a lot of people, so we see people individually for like individual remedies and personal consultations, and we also kind of make like bulk remedies for kind of like generic things like sleep or skin conditions. And we also host quite a few workshops. So we just are today finishing up a 4-month program at the Niska Museum, and we've been doing that consecutively for the last 3 years. And we've traveled as far as Loch Lands and Terrace now, and Kitson-Kalem, and so we kind of are all over here and there where when people invite us, basically. We'll come and we'll talk about plants, basically. So that's a little bit about us. So we have a website, we have various Facebook pages that you guys can always keep in touch with us. One's called Niska Wild Medicine, and one's called Nass Valley Wild Medicine. The thing is that we also have a really strong priority, and this is kind of what motivates us for the work that we do, is that we just kind of want to level the playing field, right? And we want to make plants and medicinal remedies and traditional remedies accessible to everyone, right? And so either we make our remedies either free or super affordable, so we do like a sliding scale price, or we basically host a workshop so that people can just go home and do their own thing with plants, right? Safely and with some instruction from us if they need. So a lot of our donations that we get from workshops or donations for exchange for some of our remedies go to subsidizing basically our program, subsidizing people so that they can see us for free and that we can give remedies away for free. Plus, so we can compensate people who go out and pick for us, or so that I can compensate Morris and Renee for the time that they take with our little group, spending time with people and picking plants and teaching. But mostly our passion just simply comes from a love of the wild, right? And a love of traditional medicine and plant medicine, and a love for healing people and animals. So this series is going to focus on winter wellness, and so it's going to have like both a medicinal plant kind of aspect and kind of a clinical aspect. So we're going to kind of talk about some of the more common things that you see during the winter, more common conditions or ailments, and then we're going to try to link it with plants, ways to support your immune system, ways to fight or defeat infection, things like that. We always talk about, and I'm going to give you guys a little bit of a backgrounder to working with plants, and some of it may be like old, like you guys already know this stuff, right? So you just have to bear with me. But basically, we always kind of encourage people to work with plants in a very ethical and safe way, right? And to give them a lot of respect, because what they can do for us and the way that they can be part of our lives is quite beautiful and quite significant. And so even when we take people out into the forest, we teach a very respectful form of wildcrafting and ethical, we call it ethical wildcrafting. So we're looking at, it's really basic common sense, to be honest. It's like looking at the plant as a family, looking at its connection to everything else in the forest and not taking too much, right? And then making sure that that plant or that plant family has had a chance to reproduce, right? So sometimes I'll tell you very specific things about plants, like don't pick it when it's in flower, or don't pick it when it's in berry. And mostly because I'm trying to allow that plant to have a life, to reproduce, right? So kind of basic common sense. And then we also have an old saying that herbalists often say, or that often can come up and we talk about it like when you go out into the forest and you pick plants, it should look like you were never there, right? So even your footprints should be light, right? And the way that you move through the forest should be gentle and, without a lot of kind of damage, right? So then there's kind of some simple basics to harvesting, right? So some of the plants, I'll say, well, you pick it in the spring, and maybe you'll have another chance to pick it in the fall, right? There's a few that are like that, like cottonwood bud. Typically for flowers and leaves, we pick them in the spring, right? Typically for bark and root is in the fall, right? And then berries are often fairly the summer. So sometimes that's a general kind of guideline for herbalists or for people out picking. And lots of times the plant, the strength of a plant is quite strong in the spring because the energy from the plant's coming up into, and it's sending all of the energy into making a flower or to reproducing. So a lot of the energy is in the leaves or the flowers, right? And then as we wane in our seasons, energy travels down and starts to really solidify into the roots and into the bark of certain plants, and that's why we choose to pick it then. And so you'll hear that when we talk about certain plants in particular. So there's some basic kind of ways to take medicine, and some of this is going to be old knowledge for you guys. But lots of the ways that Morris and I work with plants is like a tea infusion, right? So you're taking several plants. Typically I don't make a tea infusion of more than 3 or 5 plants. And basically you're steeping them. So often you steep leaves and flowers, right? And you steep them in hot boiled water with a lid on it, because then you get to trap all those essential oils back into the water. That makes a very medicinal therapeutic tea. And you want to steep it for at least like 15 minutes. Most of the times we cheat ourselves and we don't steep our tea long enough. And then that's why sometimes we're not getting as much medicinal qualities out of it. So then there's a type of medicine that I'm going to tell you guys about called a cold infusion. Now cold infusion is again often leaves and flowers, and it's steeped in cold water, but usually for 12 hours overnight. And there is a difference in your medicine. So a cold extraction will often separate out constituents in plants that are not stripped from a plant by hot water. So, but I'll tell you, as we move through different plants, I'll tell you which ones are best as a cold infusion or best as a warm tea infusion. So remember that constituents in plants, usually there's multiple. Sometimes, like I think St. John's wort has like 45 different constituents in it. Remember that some of them aren't water soluble, and some of them are, but it means hot or cold water. So that's why I'm telling you that, okay? And then we're gonna do a bit of medicine making around oil extractions. So this is when we either take a fresh or dried plant and we mix it up in a form of organic healthy oil. Often it's just olive oil that we use. And we basically do an oil extraction. So we either are blending it or we're letting it sit in that oil for over a period of time, like 6 weeks. Okay? And then today part of the medicine that we're gonna make is we are gonna make a salve together. So a salve is like it's an oil extraction of a plant, and then it's solidified by beeswax, right? So beeswax turns it more into a cream. Okay, and we'll go over that process, and we'll make a couple of those over the next few weeks. Excuse me. So I want you to also, so basically what we always say to people too when we start talking about plants is that the constituents in plants are very, very powerful, and they have to be looked at with a lot of like respect and kind of significance that they can change things in our body, right? And sometimes they're as powerful as our pharmaceuticals because most pharmaceuticals came from plants, right? Or mineral salts or something. So questions that you need to ask yourself. Do I have any allergies, right? Do I have allergies to plants that might mimic aspirin or mimic a non-steroidal anti-inflammatory like ibuprofen? Or do I have any sensitivities to those kind of constituents? Because those might belong in certain plants, and I'll tell you if they do, so that you can say, yeah, I have an allergy to aspirin, I'm going to avoid this plant. And then the other thing is that they can compete sometimes with other medications, right? So there's a really big, we have a really big organ called our liver, and it has a really big vein called a hepatic portal vein, and there's a lot of different enzyme pathways in our liver, and that's where most of our drugs are metabolized. And so sometimes when we take certain plants, it can compete with the metabolism of drugs. And it can either mean that the drug levels are too high in our body or too low. But not every plant does that, so you don't have to panic. Just there's very specific ones that do, so I'm going to tell you those. And if we come across them, and I'll tell you which medications to be more aware of, right? And that said, we still work with tons of people on tons of medications, right? So there's lots of options in our plant world to kind of safely work with people or work with ourselves. So basically, lots of times we use medicinal remedies like plant medicine, traditional medicine, supplements, for some very specific reasons. So plants have a great role for us. They often strengthen our immune system, or they bring strength to certain functions of our body, immune, heart health, digestion, things like that. They give us comfort when we're sick, so often they're very good at soothing out side effects of medications or soothing out side effects of certain viruses or certain conditions we're living with. They often speed our healing, right? So they kind of can cut our healing process by half, so we heal quicker. And they can cleanse our body. And when we work with our own natural rhythms, they work better. And so the perfect example is like taking a herb for sleep, right? So, or taking a sedative herb. So I recommend that you work with your natural rhythm. So you take it when you've already finished your long day of busy activities and you're ready to settle and ready to rest. Or you take it, when you're ready to go to bed. So that your body's not competing with a herb, not trying to stay awake when you're giving yourself something to sleep, okay, or something to sedate yourself. So just think about that when you think about your herbs. What rhythm am I going with? Is this feel like I should take it in the morning because it's for my digestion? Or should I take it in at 3 o'clock when I'm really tired? Like that's when I take my energy blend, things like that. Try and link it to your natural rhythms. And then with that, what happens is you get to know your body, right, in a different way with plants. And your body will tell you what it doesn't like and what it likes. And when you pay attention to that, you have formed a closer bond to the herb and to the plant. So basically, we're going to we're going to focus a little bit on kind of like some common ailments for the winter. So there's some common simple ones, right? There's like ear infections, sore throats, the upper respiratory tract infections that we get, influenza, right? Most of them are viral infections. We get sometimes like a seasonal thing going on where we're lower in our mood during the winter. We're more prone to depression, right? Anxieties come up, things like that. So that can be all very seasonal, right? So there's some categories for herbs. I'm just checking the time, make sure that I'm on the path of the time here. So the reason why I'm telling you this is totally not to kind of overwhelm you, but I just want to give you some background on sometimes how herbs work and sometimes how they're classified. So it's going to be super simple, and you're going to hear these words as you guys delve more into herbal medicine, so you might as well just get familiar with them. So when we're talking about winter wellness, sometimes what we're looking for is a classification called expectorants. So herbs that help us cough out stuff, right? Basically, and that open our lungs, right? Then astringents. So plants and traditional medicines that help dry up boggy mucous membranes, like sinus infections, or tonsils that are swollen and puffy in the back of our throat, right? Even like the post-healing phase of a cold after you've cleared the infection is like 28 days of inflammation. It's awful, right? That's why your kids never seem like they get well, right? Because it's like a month long of them just recuperating from the inflammation. They're not sick anymore. So the plants have a really good role there to help dry up and clean up boggy membranes. So another word we call demulcents. And demulcents I just think of as soothing and smoothing, basically, because they're like coating and softening and moistening and soothing layer of skin or mucous membranes that are dry, red, irritated, and painful, basically. And that can happen inside our lungs, inside our throat, right? Our eyes, our ears. And then we have antimicrobials, right? So these are plants that help our defense system. So they help clean up bacteria, they help kill viruses, they boost our immune system so that we're better at defending ourselves. They stimulate our white blood cells and our T killer cells to go around and clean up everything. And then anti-inflammatories. Because inflammation is a huge part of getting sick. It's a very primary defensive mechanism to swell and to block invasive microorganisms from getting any further. So we need inflammation, and then at some point we need it to go away so that our immune system can get in there and clean up the residual infection properly, right? So some of the plants that we're going to do, so we call this section often like the wild plant section, or it's called Materia Medica in herbal language. So we go over kind of a few plants together, right, for the next half an hour, and that you can just get more familiar with and get started on. One thing about our group is that we focus only really on local and wild traditional plants. So these are the plants you can go out in your own backyard or into our forests and pick, right? So you won't really hear us talking about a lot of plants from like Arizona or overseas or anything. I have some knowledge of them, but mostly what we do is we focus on our local backyard so that it's super accessible to people, right? And typically there's always an alternative to something. There's a few plants I do trade for that come from the desert, but I can almost find their equivalent here, almost. So just so you guys know that. Do you have any thoughts, Morris? It's okay. I'll prompt you.
It's just, when we first started, as you were saying in the beginning, we had kids as young as 3 years old.
Yeah.
That is something to watch.
Yeah.
They learned quite a bit. And as soon as they left class and then get out there, they would group and they'd be kicking away.
Yeah.
That was something.
Carrying their little bags around.
Yeah.
So cute. Yeah. And what's neat about the kids is that, like, every year they get older, right? But they're always knocking on Morris and I's door asking to go picking, and they remember, right? And they're to be honest, it's no offense, but they're better than most of my adult learners, right? They remember everything verbatim, what I say, so be careful. And then they quote it back to me, and they're better at explaining it half the time. It's so awesome. Yeah, they have their total little group. So we started going up to Head Start and doing classes there, and we've been into the schools in the valley, and it's been quite a ball. Yeah. And then once I think the adults started watching all the kids, how much fun they were having, then they started joining, pretty much. So we're going to work through a few plants that you guys are probably walking by on a regular basis. And I'm going to pass them around because these are just the samples anyways. So this one is called Curly Everlasting. And it's dried, right? But it actually looks like a dried plant when it's growing fresh. It kind of looks like baby's breath. I don't know if you guys have seen that one, right? It likes to grow in the really old or kind of cleared areas, like along the side of the road or in an old parking lot or an open area. It's called Curly Everlasting, or it's called cat's paw. So the parts of the plant that you use are the leaves and the flowers. And I'll show you guys a way that I do my notes, or that I categorize my notes. So basically I do the name of the plant, then I do a heading called parts, so then I write leaves or flowers, then I do harvest, so I'll tell you when to pick it and how. Then I do how, so that means like tea or salve, and then I do actions. So then this is where I tell you everything the plant does. And then I do an abbreviation called contra, just for contraindications. So this is where I tell you it's not safe for women who are pregnant, or it's not safe for children, or something like that. Whoops. You okay?
Just pet.
So the parts are the leaves and the flowers. And you harvest this one in the spring and the summer, and it actually has quite a long harvest. I've harvested in a dry fall and early winter as late as November. And it's still white and beautiful, and there's no darkness on it or blackness. It's not starting to mildew. So you want it when it's white and the leaves are green. So in it, there's a couple constituents that you don't have to write down, but if you're curious about what makes up plants, they're called monoterpenes and flavonoids. And these are the constituents in the plant that are responsible for what it does, right? For its actions that we'll talk about. And whenever you hear the word flavone or flavonoid, you can just think like multivitamin or antioxidant or something very nutritious that your body wants, basically. Huh? Yeah, monoterpene. Yeah, and flavone, or flavonoid, I could say. So constituents are kind of a cool thing, but they're kind of like a whole separate workshop. But if you guys are ever curious about really getting into like what grows in a plant, it's pretty fun. So how you do it is you make a tea and you drink it.
Hot or cold?
This is a hot tea. And the ways that I make medicinal tea, just so it's kind of like a blanket rule, just to make it whatever easy for people, although you're welcome to be creative, is I typically do 1 teaspoon of plant to 1 cup of hot boiled water. That's my medicinal tea. Steeped for 15 minutes with a lid on it.
Does it do any harm if you steep it longer?
No. No, and some plants will, so I'll tell you. Like sometimes if you steep St. John's wort too long, it becomes too bitter. And then that can be hard on people's stomachs, and they'll actually will get like a little bit of a stomachache from it, especially if they're taking it quite often. So, but this one is a very gentle, benign type herb, although it has a pretty powerful action.
Do you strain it?
Yeah, so then after you've steeped your tea, you strain it out. And the guideline with tea is that you make it so you want to drink it. Otherwise, you'll never want to drink your tea, right? So if it's too strong, use less. If it's not strong enough, use a bit more with this plant, or add a bit of honey. Because really, the goal is that you drink it. So if you're avoiding your tea, it's not the end goal, right? So you got to make it so that it's delicious. Add something, add mint, or whatever, add other plants that are delicious for you, right? Yeah, I'm going to go on to that right now. So basically, this plant acts as an astringent, so it dries up mucus, right? It acts as an anti-inflammatory, so it decreases the swelling in your tissues. And it's actually a very powerful antihistamine. So if you're having like this kind of chronic alert allergy to the weather, the dryness, the pollens, this is a good one for using as an antihistamine to help your reactions to foods or dog hairs or pollens. So it really likes to decrease swelling in tissues, especially the lungs, the throat. It's a very gentle expectorant, so it's going to open your airways and you're going to be more likely to cough. But what's great is that your secretions are going to be thinner, so you're going to be more effective, right? You're going to be able to cough out extra fluid you don't need. So this one is specific for like childhood asthma, kids who are diagnosed. To be honest, I don't think children should be diagnosed with asthma, but many children are. So this is a plant that I often use with them to help open their airways, to help them have more exercise tolerance, to help them clean out any secretions. And it's gentle, it doesn't have a strong taste, so children are more likely to drink it, which is nice. This is a good one for like the bronchitis, viral bronchitis, that's like going on and on and on. Or like the allergic runny nose, hay fever-like symptoms. Perfect one for that. And for your upper respiratory tract infections, right? So you have a sore throat, you have swollen nose, you have a cough that's up here, you have like sinus pressure. This is your perfect one. And it's safe for everyone, so there's no contraindications. And you really can't drink too much of it, so often people, drink 2 or 3 cups a day, more if they're not feeling well, they just make a big pot if they're homesick. And
Is it safe to mix with, say, ginger?
Yeah, it's super safe. Yeah. We're gonna make a herbal blend in the medicine making part, so.
So when you're making your tea, you use the dried product rather than fresh?
You can use it fresh or dried. But typically, you can use it fresh or dried. So a little bit about drying plants. So we'll just talk about drying flowers and leaves. Basically, you're going to put it on a screen, or you're going to bundle them and hang them. Have you guys ever seen that, right? On the lawn line. You kind of want it in a dark room. So I often block out my windows in the herbal room. And I put a fan on, because you want constant airflow for a really quick, efficient drying of a plant. You don't want the temperature to go up and down too much, because then the plants start the process of drying and then stopping and then decomposing and then drying and then stopping, and it ruins the plant. So you kind of want an even temperature with a fan on. And depending on how humid it is, it might take a long time, right? But those are the most effective ways of drying leaves and flowers. I often just have screens stacked on bricks so that there's airflow between them. And then I just go in every day and I kind of turn everything so that it's drying evenly. So, no, I'm not there. This is called cottonwood buds, but I have it infused in oil. Okay, so then there's a few cottonwood buds that I picked that are dried. You can pass them around, minus the hair. Yeah, it's sticky. It's full of resin. So if you get it in your hair, it's a little bit of a disaster. It's not as bad as a burr though. So cottonwood bud, you guys are familiar with it, hey? It's our buds on the top of our really tall cottonwoods, and also poplar, right? So sometimes you'll hear me just be interchangeable with poplar bud or cottonwood bud because I picked both of them.
What are you supposed to do with this?
We're going to turn that into a medicine.
Oh.
Yeah, so the cottonwood buds are infused in oil. It smells good though. You guys are welcome to, take it.
Yeah, well, if anything moves, I'm gonna drop
I know everyone always says it looks like bugs. Or
Yeah,
bugs.
it looks like grasshoppers.
It does, yeah. And we're gonna make a medicine from it this afternoon. We're gonna make like a chest rub, basically.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Is it cool? Did you dry them before you put them in the
No.
oil?
So with cottonwood buds, we pick the buds, and we pick them in the spring, right, or the fall.
Early spring and late fall,
Yeah, when they're big and fat.
a lot of sap.
And cottonwoods like to grow near water, right? They're our rebar of the earth. They're holding back all of our riverbanks. They're preventing flash floods, right? They're a crucial tree that we need to live around if we live around fast-moving water, right? We want cottonwoods, and so then they also provide us with this really amazing medicine. The oil and the resin is kind of what we're after inside the bud, and it's like blood red. So like when you stick it, your hands will be stained. And I think it takes us a long time. Didn't we have to use that orange stuff? Didn't we have to use some kind of that orange cleaner to get it off last time? Some of my friends, they pick with gloves now. But when we're talking about cottonwood bud, it's like a heal-all in a lot of ways because it wants to do a little bit of everything. So it's quite a powerful antimicrobial. So it wants to kill bacteria, it wants to kill viruses, it wants to kill staph infections on your skin, things like impetigo, all those really, really nasty ones. It actually also has a very powerful analgesic effect, so it's actually very pain relieving. So I use it a lot for people to reduce inflammation and to relieve kind of deeper bone pain.
Use it topically.
Yeah, topically.
Did you go to school to learn all this, or how do you know all this?
Yeah, I never really told you guys, eh? So basically, I was raised with plants by my parents, so they used plants with us. So then I learned a lot from my dad and my mom. And then I self-taught myself for a long time. And then I basically took every course I could ever find online or through teachers that I found. So there's a school called Wild Seeds. One of my teachers is Michael Moore from the Southwest School of Botanical Medicine. There's an institute based in Oregon and in England that it's like the National Institute of Herbal Medicine. And I took everything I could possibly from them. And then I practiced, right? So I practiced and practiced on myself and people and learned a lot like that. And then I continue to learn because our group has a lot of knowledgeable people that are part of it, and so we do a lot of knowledge exchange now in the NAS. So it's just, and that's been over probably 15 years or more now. So it's been a journey. Plus I have a clinical background, right? I have a nursing background. So I've been nursing for as long as I've been doing herbal medicine.
Cool.
So it's the integration, right? So, so cottonwood bud is the part. You harvest it in the spring and the fall. We're super blessed by this plant. We get to harvest it twice. So if we're too busy in the spring, we can catch it again in the fall. But they're not as big and they're not as fat. So spring is best if you can, or nice to do a bit of both, right?
So you walk up to the tree and you were saying the buds are toward the top, so.
Yeah, they're on these huge branches. It's really hard to actually get them from a cottonwood tree. So what Morris and I often do is we often go out after a huge wind when they've all been snapped down onto the ground. Or we go out and we find the poplar saplings, right, that are about my height and they're thick along an old cut road or something, or an old logging road, and we pick those. Yeah. And remember, if you follow a creek or follow a river, you'll often find cottonwood or poplar, right? So they want their feet near water, basically. So then I mostly teach how to use cottonwood topically. So this is all about how to use it on your skin or how to use it on your chest as a chest rub to relieve pain. And mostly because large amounts of it are too hard on our body. It's too hard on our liver, it's too hard on our kidneys, and too hard on our tummy. Okay? So we don't really take it as a tea. The only thing the part that I teach, that I separate out, is that you can gargle with it. So, and for more advanced classes, I'll tell you a way to take it internally that's safely, but for today I'm just going to teach topical and then gargle. So you're going to take your 3 buds and you're going to steep it in hot water, and you're going to add some salt and you're going to gargle. And you're going to be surprised how fast your tonsils go down and your uvula in the back of your throat feels better, not as scratchy or sore, and you stave off infection advancing, right?
What does the salt do?
The salt is actually like an astringent, so it tightens up those tissues, and it actually sucks out bacteria because it's like a hypertonic, I think they call it, solution. So it wants to take out stuff from the tissue, so it'll suck out the bacteria that's collecting back there. So gargle with it, it's really effective. And then when we use it topically, it reduces pain. It cleans up any skin infections that might be happening, or it helps to. It activates a healing action on your skin, so your skin cells start to multiply and divide, and we call that regranulation, but basically your skin gets thicker and it starts to heal. And it opens your airways, and it does that when you rub it on your chest. And the medicine we're going to make today is kind of like a chest rub. So it opens your airways, and when you breathe in the smell of cottonwood, that's a very antimicrobial action, right? So we breathe in quite a bit of nutrient. We forget how much nutrient we absorb just by breathing. And by breathing in essential oils of plants, it's actually cleaning and killing infection on the inside, or healing our lungs on the inside. So it's a major bronchodilator. So it opens our lungs up super big, bigger than Pearly. Okay? So when we do that, we're less likely to, we're going to breathe deeper, and we're gonna clear out bacteria or viruses. So great during times of chest infections, bronchitis, if you actively have pneumonia and you're on antibiotics. Super safe to use your vapor rub or your cottonwood rub. So it's kind of a specific one to laryngitis. So something's going on in the back of your throat and you're losing your voice. This is when I use cottonwood blood specifically to gargle with. Or any type of tonsillitis, any teeth infections or gum infections, things like that. So, although our medicine today is very specific to relieving the pain when you're coughing super hard, and you know how your intercostal muscles will just like ache and you won't be able to move, and you have to take a lot of Tylenol. Sometimes you'll have to go on codeine because their ribs hurt so much from coughing. This is how we use cottonwood bud as a rub during that time for that healing process. But you can actually use it anywhere on your body. So anywhere that's swollen, painful, or sore, it's quite effective. Sometimes it's not as effective as some plants, but sometimes it will help even to relieve the burning or the numbness sensation that some people experience in the tips of their fingers and their toes. It's like a type of nerve pain. So the only contraindication that you should know about is that we just don't give cottonwood bud to children. Okay? Just because it has some similar constituents to aspirin. And there's that kind of general warning about aspirin that it's linked to Ray's disease. And so we don't give it to children under 12. Although I am comfortable with you guys using it topically, okay, on children, because only 10% of that actually goes to your liver. And we use it all the time on kids. We just don't get them to chew on the bud. I don't give it as a tea to them, things like that, okay? There's other safer herbs for kids, so we don't even have to worry about it. They don't have strong connections with that, but they have that as a general warning about aspirin and Ray's disease, and then cottonwood, because it can sometimes have a constituent in it that mimics aspirin or that looks like it, like a salicylate basically.
So how would you store cottonwood bud? Because it's really sticky.
It's super sticky stuff. How do I what?
How do you store it?
Oh yeah,
Did
that's
you
a good
harvest it?
question. Basically, how do we store it? We put it in oil. We pack it in the oil, so that's basically I make jars and jars of oil, and then what I do is I freeze it. So I'll put it out on a screen and I'll let it dry for like 24 hours, and then I'll basically either just keep it in a bag, right, or in a jar, and kind of spoon it out, or I freeze them. Freezing is pretty effective for
You're
cottonwood.
saying though you dry it out and then you add it to the oil?
No, I don't. It's funny. It's the only plant that you don't have to dry. Well, it's one of a few plants you don't have to dry before you pack it in oil. You can pack it in fresh. And that's because it's actually a very powerful antioxidant. So it has preserving constituents in it, or preserving properties that won't go bad in the oil. If you did that with other plants and they were wet though, they'll go bad in oil. So cottonwood is your kind of exception to the rule. And
So
in fact,
it's either or, so you pack it in the oil fresh or you dry it.
yeah, or you dry it because maybe you're going to use it later. Maybe you don't have a jar of olive oil right now, but you're going to get one in a couple months, and then you can make your oil then.
And then when you say freeze it, do you mean freeze it not in the oil, just freeze it
Freeze it
by
yeah,
itself?
by itself as a bud. Yeah. And then that's a nice way to just keep it long term fresh. So you can use cottonwood bud oil to preserve other oils too. It's a very powerful antioxidant, so it'll stabilize other oils that you make, and you'll see us do that as we make more medicines. So the last 10 minutes, I wanted to ask Morris to speak about pine sap, and I'm going to pass him around, and I'll probably fill in the blanks, but I thought that's what we should do because we're going to add it to our cottonwood bud. I just got to dig it out of the tub.
Pine sap, you harvest it off spruce trees, which is good, and hemlock. The way I was taught by the elders when I was a little child, came by accident the way I was taught. I stepped on a big spike that went through the bottom of my foot out the top. It would stop me in one spot right there and it was rusty. So my foot got infected immediately. And my grandfather pulled out this container and he put it through the bottom and the top of the gauze and wrapped it. Within a week I was running around with buddies without even limp and threw out all the poison in my foot. So it's a good plant to have, especially people that work on fish and then accidentally cut your finger and slime gets and it gets infected really badly that the finger is empty. And you use that pine sap. The way I was taught was to make a small portion, using a small portion, you use a 1 level teaspoon of olefin grease, which I'm not going to have. Then the other one is the sap off the tree. You use a heaping spoon of that, mix them together and sheet it. And you're using it right away. You put it on your gauze and you put it on the infected area. It'll draw out the poison. I got a spider bite over here, and there's a pretty horrible experience because the flesh was actually falling up and goes to do with that medical background. I was the 9th person that got bitten in the reserve. And I put some of that on because I was trying the other stuff and it just wasn't working at all, so I washed it off. And we used sap for it. And I was healed up before everybody else, and even the doctors and nurses would salt acid healed up. And they wanted to know what I used, so I said, don't throw your medical stuff away. Pine sap is pretty good stuff.
Now, did you mix yours with the Ooligan grease or just?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And why Hooligan Grease just because of
I
that?
don't know. I still got to ask my aunties. She's 87, and I just got that information off her. Like I use it when they process it. I never questioned what it was. When they say use it, they meant to use it.
Do what you're told.
End of story.
Yeah.
How much of the Oregon grease did you put in?
1 level teaspoon to 1 heaping spoon of salt. So if you do some calculation, the more you use, for example, if you use, my mind is kind of a little bit further away, you can say a cup. So looking grease, you make it level, and then a cup of sap to the heaping.
Is there another grease that you could use?
You could use olive oil.
And when you say olive oil, like, you know, there's extra virgin, does it matter? Or what do you say?
For medicine making, it's nice to use high quality oils. So what I do is I tend to buy olive oil like that only is imported from Italy because they have to by law import organic olive oil and other countries don't.
Yeah.
So that's just my general guideline for myself. And then I don't worry too much about whether it's cold pressed or
Okay.
extra virgin for topical, like for the oil making. And then just try and maybe get the organics or get the stuff from Italy because it's organic. Then it's free of pesticides because we're going to absorb that. Anything you put on your skin, it's as powerful as taking it by mouth, right? So, what else have we been doing with pine lately?
You said it, pine and spruce and hemlock, or just pine?
Hemlock and spruce. I was using pine myself until last year. and to how we process it. And she told me hemlock and horse spruce. And I recorded the conversation, so I won't forget it. I went through quite a bit of heart attacks in West Denton. I had a stroke, so it's hard for me to remember things, so I used my camera that's back there for my memory aid. And then on these herbal class on the cameraman for making.
So I have a question. Morris, when you collect your sap, you collect it from trees that have already released it, or do you score the bark in some trees and go back with it?
I don't take too much off the trees itself. I leave some of it, like Reagan says, to leave some behind so that usually a tree is scarred, so it produces sap, so you don't want to remove everything off and leave some behind for it to do some heating. So you just wander off and you look for more trees.
That's how I do it. I've heard people talk about scoring the trees and coming back later, and I just thought,
No.
Yeah,
No.
I've seen that before too.
In the spring then?
Any time, because the sap that comes out automatically to protect the tree and green with the scar. So some people usually put a little axe, mark a little mark there, and the sap comes out there and protects it.
Where we live, we have lots of pine trees, so Mars and I don't have any trouble finding trees that are weeping some sap from a damage or something, from a bear claw or something. But the hemlocks don't seem to make as much sap. It's a little rarer. Spruces definitely will weep. And remember, it's a beautiful thing. I don't really like the word antibiotic for some reason, but sap is the antibiotic of the forest. That's the whole reason a forest remains healthy and survives invasive microorganisms like fungus, like bacteria, like protozoa, or like insects, right? So they need their sap for a whole different way, and they actually release it into the air as an essential oil, and when they do that, it keeps the health of that forest and that forest family really strong. So, like Morris said, we have a guideline. We never take all of the sap. So thank you, you guys.
Thank you.
For those of you who have a wood stove, there's one of the things that will clear up your airway if you have a stove. Usually put one little bit on your wood stove there. That's what it is.
I'm sure that you can say that. Sorry.